Okay, the first activity we did in Latin America, it was, let me,
Vista.
Yeah, it's okay. Okay, let's, okay. This activity was held in Guadalajara, Jalisco, Mexico, and the activity was held in the University of Guadalajara in March 2024. In general, the conferences, in this event, this conference, in fact, it presented the creation of the Latin America chapter in Heritopolis. And in fact, the result of the Guadalajara conference helped us to understand the challenge we are facing in Latin America. And in this activity, it was the first time that we joined friends from Brazil, Santiago, Argentina, Colombia, and we have as well participation of colleagues from Bolivia and Peru. And in general, the discussion focused of three main issues. One of them is heritage planning and metropolitan governance. The second one, metropolitan cultural and natural heritage. And the third one, heritage, socio-environmental system and climate change in metropolitan areas. In general, the discussion focused in the first one. The discussion focused in the issue metropolitan planning and governance, and I don't want to read all the things we were discussed, but in general, we found in this issue that the metropolitan areas in Latin America lack a legal framework, the framework that provides the legal foundation in their governance, and this problem remain ungovernable entities. And in the second issue, concerning metropolitan cultural and natural heritage, this second challenge in general is concerning the management of heritage, both cultural and natural. So, on the other hand, one of the problems we are facing in Latin American metropolitans, the participants were talking about that the heritage designation of the landscape, which when not controlled and without limits on its extent and form, can unintentionally promote gentrification as well. In fact, gentrification, you know, in Latin America, in metropolis like Guadalajara, we have even many manifestations in different cities in Mexico because the people, I think, they feel feel, I mean, impacted by with the identity of the identity of the cities. The second issue, or the third challenge, is concerning the heritage socio-environmental systems and climate change in metropolitan areas. As you know, in Latin America in general, the cities are characterized by very high population density. For example, in Sao Paulo, right now, there are 23 inhabitants, million, 23 million habitant. In Mexico, we have more or less 22 million of habitat, 22 million of inhabitants. In Buenos Aires, 15 million, in Santiago, 7 million in general. So I think this, I think it's a big challenge to organize or work in the planning of this kind of metropolis. So, and another discussion of the in the conference, researchers are focused in the about the problem that we have concerning the classification of tangible and intangible patrimony. And despite this decision for analytical purpose, that all type of heritage in general are experiences of overlapping, intertwined and interconnected. And you know, with all these issues, the three issues I was talking about, we produced at the end of the conference, we published three books, and so these three books are available either through Heritopolis and or in Habitat. And in general, it was the activity that we were working in 24 in Guadalajara. And so let me see, in order to end this presentation, this is the site of the University of Guadalajara in Mexico, and this is the place where we held the conference in Guadalajara. And I like to say that in September we are preparing the second conference in Guadalajara, but this is in fact the third conference in Latin America. And so see you in September here in Guadalajara. So thank you so much. So I thank you, and I don't know if Vera from Brazil, if he is in the room. Vera?
Yes, thank you, Ramon,
Okay,
for
thank you.
remembering us. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
We hope to meet you guys in September in Guadalajara, either in remote or presential. So to be a pleasure. But let's see if we can travel. You have to stop sharing, Ramon. That's
Yes, yes. Just let me say. mm, Wait, please. Mm, Yes. Um,
Sorry, Raman, I control the
Ah.
CSV, but screen
Okay,
share.
good.
Sorry, but I
Can you
will
do it?
do
Okay.
everything here technically. Go ahead.
We are supposed to wait for Mike.
No, we're waiting for you.
Oh, for me. Sorry, I didn't know I was trying to wait for Ramon. Let me try to share here. If it's I hope I can. Should have. Um, it's different from my Zoom. It's completely different. So, hope it works. I don't know if it's working. I have two languages. So sorry for English and Spanish and in Portuguese. I'm not present my city, Rio de Janeiro, sorry. I'm presenting the results of our conference, but I have some colleagues like Monica, Danielle, and other that can come back here and present the city of Rio and the metropolis of Rio. Sorry, but I'm just focusing on the finish the conference. Had the goal to establish heritage as agent of positive change. That's something that we are trying to all the time to have, and can stimulate democratic encounter between the forces present in the economic, social, and cultural dynamics in contemporary metropolises in their respective metropolitan areas, stimulating exchanges and articulating innovative approaches. These were the main goal behind the conference, and as Ramon presented before, Latin America has many constraints, many different. We have facing urban sprawl, facing densities. So we try to hold that reality in mind, but also discussing between us in Latin American cities. The conference had 60 in total 60 participants, both present and remote, a very large team. I'm very grateful for them because they didn't have any money at all to have the conference. So all very voluntary work. And Ramon and Luis and people from Guadalajara, other colleagues from Argentina and Chile. Okay, they all helped to organize that. And the four topics were discussed between us, and we decided to focus on democratic heritage management. Management is a big problem for all of us. Colonialism, migration, and cultural transfers. Then three, metropolitan heritage and climate adaptation. We're not discussing more climate change because climate is already changed. And also the heritage education with local relevance. I have to say that the conference was held in two places in Rio, downtown, for 2 days. So we had visits over there, site visits in Afro-Brazilian historical sites, and also in an urban park, very famous one. And then we had the 2 days in our program in my university back in the north zone of Rio, close to the international airport, just to understand a little bit the difficulty of having two places, a very large city. But I think it worked very well. We are very grateful for everyone that could join us. I'm trying to to go ahead with my. Okay, these were the all.
I don't know whether you're putting on the. We're only on the first slide
Really?
because you're not moving the slides.
And now, if has it changed?
No, we're still on the first slide.
Slideshow. Should be a slideshow.
Then I have to share in a different way. I'm trying to share differently. It's different. This one is different from my screen. Well, I think this would be easier. If it's okay for you, I will go in that mode.
So you have to.
Can I continue?
Yeah.
We're seeing the second one now?
Yes. Yeah. Now the second one.
Okay. We had a Brazilian keynote speaker, Flávio Casaglad. It's very important for us. It's professor in Minas Gerais State. And also the topics were we're trying to have roundtables also relating a Brazilian person, professor, own NGO, and entity coordinator, and also someone from Latin America. So the first one, Candice from Brazil and Humberto from Chile. The second one, Luis Antonio from Brazil and also Tatiana from Colombia. Then the third one, José Luis Águila, that was there with us, and from Mexico, and Luana from Brazil, and then Maria Cláudia from Brazil, and also Sonia also had from Brazil. I think they had some difficulties in having the fourth roundtable with a Latin American colleague. I hope it so works now. Okay, just to have in mind, we have finished our report. We have short papers proceedings. It's done. Only 2 small revisions, and all the people that were involved. I'm not going to. I have to thank you them all, but just to see how was difficult to have. And how it's important for us to have these exchanges. And then you go directly to the first access, always in English and in Portuguese. So I just read in English. Sorry for people that speak Portuguese, but the presentation has 2 languages. The coordinators are Daniel from Brazil and Humberto Bonom from Chile. Thank you, Humberto, for having the support of you and all the team. And the lines of discussion, these are the synthesis. And then Mike gave us something to follow. So I have to follow all the time, thinking about the results and the takeaways and the outcomes. So you have as a discussion, tensions of urban memory, talking about marginalized practices and expressions, mass tourism, it's a problem for us, versus local identity, dark heritages, talking about the places of sadness, they are very important for us, of suffering, pedagogical tool, valuing modus and peripheral heritage, and also heritage as an agent of political manifestations. So we had the synthesis, the takeaways are very important for us. All the team could focus on that, heritage as a positive change, as an agent of change. The sessions, they both combine critical theory and design practice. Always the contradictions between the official heritage and no official one. The management depends on the continuity of social communication channels, the need for decolonization of monuments, and also the future of heritage management expansion to include the peripheries, the difficult heritage, the suffering ones, the painful ones. So it's in Portuguese, so I want to leave it in Portuguese. And then you go to the second one. The coordinators were Alex Lamonier from Brazil and Julia Hay from Spain. Remember, here you have in Portuguese and also in Spanish, we're talking about migration, the colonialism, which is a very, very important subject for Latin America studies, Latin American heritage studies. So you have as discussion presented by the papers, the urban morphology and Afro-Brazilian memory is one of the big issues, urban corpographies, talking about urban places and Black female bodies, the critical and the colonial approach, cities, landscapes, heritage as living bodies in a field of dispute, and heritage as a political and symbolic process traversed by conflicts, affections, and multiple narratives. And as a synthesis, as a takeaway for the future, I have to think about heritage as a political and symbolic process. Always in Latin America, it's very important to talk about, that symbolic tensions between modernity, tradition, and coloniality, expressed through art and culture. Art and culture can help us express that heritage as a link between culture and city, experiences of exile, people that are migrating, belonging, and lived violence, materialization of resistance through know-how, art, and culture. How can the colonial thought reach society is a question. We don't have the answer. How the subjects affected by migrations read history in different ways. We all are discussing about that. I think it's important to think about. And then incorporating the debated themes into inclusive public policies, bringing to the forefront non-hegemonic narratives and micro policies that govern territories in metropolitan areas. It's also takeaway to the future. And then you have in Portuguese, and then you go in English. The third axis, the third topic, which was why I was coordinating them. It's about climate adaptation. I coordinated together with José Luis Águila Flores from Guadalajara, a great friend. It was a very good to have him with us. He helped a lot in our daily conference. Well, the lines of debate, proposals based on living conditions, focus on living local realities, analysis of places, focusing on the challenges and impacts on the territories, content associated with infrastructure issues like drainage, urban expansion, and natural events affecting the heritage sites in Brazil as a whole, mainly in Rio and also in other places in northeast of Brazil. Extreme events, mitigation versus adaptation, it's a subject, and also resilience versus resistance. As a synthesis for takeaways thought. Heritage as an agent of transformation focus on vernacular architecture, valuing context and environmental justice. Resistance versus resilience. This relationship supported by ancestral traditional knowledge from the indigenous people, Afro-Brazilian people, Afro-Latin American people. Promoting dialogue between cultural heritage and climate action. It's the way that we have to face from now on. Metropolises can contribute to decisions regarding observed conflicts, heritage versus climate events. How can we prevent or how can we make adaptations in our cities? Proposing regulations and urban projects that meet current emerging demands, local demands. Possible paths, active listening to people, and proposals that seek possible answers to localized problems, not generic and broad ones. And then in Portuguese. And then the fourth topic, the last one, was coordinated by Monica Schlee, couldn't come today, but she can come in other meetings, and also Lucia Pesci from Argentina. The lines of discussion, the papers presented, and invisibility of peripheral, indigenous, and popular heritage. This is a common thing, and I think that crosses all the four topics. Impacts of gentrification and touristification in heritage areas, environmental and land conflicts that cross traditional territories, legal fragility of archaeological sites in indigenous lands, the power of effective memory as an element of resistance to, sorry, this translation, so not good. And I have to revise that. Emergence of new heritage narratives led by young people, it's important, children, and residents of favelas, of slums in Brazil, and dormitory neighborhoods, the peripheral neighborhoods, traditionally excluded from decision-making process and heritage policies. We have to focus on that. In Rio, 25% of the territory is occupied by slums or very low-income people. Summary for takeaway, if you have to go from the future. Heritage education as a transformative social practice, a tool for cultural resistance, and as a process of critical awareness of children and young people, along with higher education. Importance of community protagonism and social participation as structuring access for valorization of marginalized memories and for the construction of local identities. Adoption of active, dialogical, and sensory methodologies that break with transmissive and vertical models from bottom to up, not up to bottom. Need for the creation of permanent participatory spheres in cities and schools, as well as the revision of housing and tourism policies in heritage areas. A complex scenario for education, marked by land conflicts, urban expansion over traditional and rural territories, transnational migration, environmental crisis, and also always social spatial vulnerabilities. Also in Portuguese, and then you have again a large general coordination team and a large scientific committee that helped us select the papers and produce, my team produced the book that's going to be sent to all of you after Mike approves, because I have to send him to see if it's okay, the logos and the names, etc. But it's also almost done with 2 small revisions that we have to make. That's it. I hope I didn't tire you so much, and I hope I can help, our publication can help think about our Latin America as a whole metropolis problems dealing with heritage, and also all these 4 different subjects that crossed the heritage issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Vera, from Brazil. Continuing with the program, I propose to move on 3 presentation. The idea is to let you know, in general, the characteristic of some of Latin American metropolises. That is Guadalajara metropolis, then Rio de Janeiro metropolis, and then Santiago metropolis. So please, I don't know if my colleague Luis, are you ready?
Yes, Ramon, I'm here.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. My name is Luis Aguila from Mexico. We made a video about Guadalajara, covering the general aspects of the city. I think it captures the essence of Guadalajara very well. Let me share the screen. Is that okay?
Great.
Yes, it's okay.
Okay, let's start.
Western Mexico. This total modern powerhouse, but at the same time, it's a guardian of some absolutely incredible history. We are talking about Guadalajara, a sprawling metropolis that has quite a story to tell. So, what you're looking at right here That's the Guadalajara metropolitan area, or the AMG as the locals call it. It's pretty much the urban core of the entire state of Jalisco and home to millions of people. But here's the thing, beyond its sheer size, this city holds an architectural masterpiece that the entire world recognizes. And get this, they're using that very heritage to gear up for a massive global event. Okay, let's dive right in. So, first things first, what exactly makes up this massive urban landscape? I mean, when we say the Guadalajara metropolitan area, you might be thinking of just one city, right? But it's actually way more than that. It's a whole collection of places all working together as one.
And when you look at the numbers, wow, they really bring that scale to life. We're talking 9 municipalities covering more than 3,200 square kilometers. And the population? Well, the 2020 census clocked it at over 5.2 million people. That's huge. This is a massive, incredibly dynamic region. Okay, so let's look at the engine that powers this massive area, its economy. And it's not a monolith, not at all. It's much better to think of it as an intricate mosaic, where all these different municipalities play their own highly specialized roles. The whole metropolitan economy really stands on these 4 pillars: services, commerce, manufacturing, and logistics. These are the big engines driving all the growth. But the really interesting story is where these engines are located. And this is where you can see that mosaic idea in action. So take 2 of the core municipalities. Guadalajara proper, that's the historic center for public administration. But right next door, you've got Zapopan, which has totally become the region's hub for professional and technical services. And that diversity continues on the industrial side of things too. Tlajomulco is a leader in machinery fabrication and assembly, while El Salto specializes in heavy manufacturing, especially with metal products. You see, each municipality adds its own unique strength to the region's economic fabric. All right, from industry, let's shift gears to inspiration. Let's pivot to a topic I know is close to everyone's heart here at Heritopolis, the city's absolutely extraordinary cultural heritage, all centered on one magnificent jewel. We are talking, of course, about the Hospicio Cabañas, and this is so much more than just a local landmark. It's really considered a crown jewel of neoclassical architecture in the Americas. Its global importance was officially recognized when it became a UNESCO World Heritage Site way back in 1997. And just look at that date, 1810. This was being built at the very dawn of Mexico's independence. This building isn't just old, it's literally woven into the fabric of the nation itself. Its walls have seen over 2 centuries of history unfold. So, what makes it such a marvel? Well, the design is by the great Manuel Tolsa. The complex itself is enormous. It spans nearly 2.5 hectares, and it's all structured around 23 different patios. But its true soul, that lies in the fiery, monumental murals by one of Mexico's greatest artists, Jose Clemente Orozco. They're just incredible. But you know, this city's story isn't just about preserving the past. It's really about connecting that heritage to a very dynamic future. And right now, nothing represents that future more than the city's role in the upcoming 2026 FIFA World Cup. This number, 4, says it all. Guadalajara is set to host 4 matches.
And for a city like this, that is not just about a few games of soccer. It is a powerful catalyst for urban change. Yeah, hosting an event this huge goes so far beyond the stadium. It's like a citywide deadline, a powerful driver for some major urban transformation. It is Guadalajara's chance to present its absolute best self to the world. And you better believe the clock is ticking. And the city is already well into preparations. After getting confirmed as a host, plans were immediately set in motion for a massive FIFA fan festival right in the historic center. And that has triggered this huge wave of investment in urban rehabilitation projects. And these aren't just some abstract plans. We're talking about real, tangible improvements to the city's most iconic public spaces. Key plazas like Plaza Liberación and Plaza de Armas, major walkways like Paseo Alcade, and beloved parks like Parque Revolution. They are all getting significant upgrades. The entire historic center is being revitalized. So this all brings us to our final thought. You've got Guadalajara at this fascinating intersection of its rich past, symbolized by treasures like the Hospicio Cabañas, and its super dynamic future, which is being driven by the World Cup.
Guadalajara, 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 Guadalajara. Tienes el alma de provinciana, hueles a limpia rosa temprana. Abre de cara fresca del río son tus palomas, tu caserío. Guadalajara, Guadalajara, está de esa pura tierra mojada.
Okay,
So
that's
thank you, Luis. Thank you, Luis.
you're welcome.
So thank you, Luis. Now we have another presentation from Brazil.
How?
Mhm.
think
I,
that
I don't think so.
No, I think we're going
Okay.
straight onto
Okay.
No.
Santiago.
Okay,
Yeah,
let's go
I
to
just presented our conference. Yeah, I haven't presented Rio. I think can do it.
It's okay.
Someone,
It's okay.
yeah,
Okay.
can do it in another meeting.
Okay. Santiago. Go ahead, Humberto.
Okay, can you hear me? Okay. Today
Yes.
I will present, okay. Today we'll present an overview of Santiago de Chile, focusing on its urban structure and its heritage values. The presentation explores how historical processes have shaped the city's spatial form and how heritage remains a key element in understanding Santiago's identity and future development. Santiago is the capital of Chile and the country's main political, economic, and cultural center. It concentrates population, infrastructure, and decision-making at the national level, which makes it a particularly relevant case for studying metropolitan growth and heritage-related challenges in Latin America. Santiago was founded in 1541 during the Spanish colonial period. Its location in Central Valley was strategic, especially because of access to water from Mapocho River and the presence of isolated hills that influenced early defense settlement patterns. This geographical condition played a decisive role in initial urban layout. Over time, Santiago has gone through several major historical phases: colonial rule, independence, industrialization, and more recently, globalization. Each of these periods left physical traces in urban fabric, resulting in a layerly city where different historical moments coexist spatially. As Chile's capital, Santiago concentrates political power and economic opportunities. However, this central role also produced strong social-spatial inequalities, particularly between central areas and the peripheral municipality within the metropolitan region. To understand Santiago's current structure, it is essential to look at its historical origins and early urban planning principles. The historic center of Santiago still preserve the colonial grid, a planning model imposed by Spanish colonial regulation. This continuity makes the historic center a key area for understanding the city long-term urban identity. In this plan, for example, you can see the most important natural element of that moment, the Mapocho River, the Cerro Santa Lucia, and La Cañada that form this triangle, which is the foundation of the city. You can see here also. At the end of the city, of the colonial grid, is the Plaza de Armas. Historically, it functioned as the city's civic, religious, and administrative center, surrounded by institutions such as the cathedral and government buildings. This centrally remains symbolically important today. This is an image of the restoration of the plaza that was in occurred in 2000. And today I'm in charge of the restoration of the cathedral. It's a huge project that we are developing in the last 5 years. Natural elements played a significant role in shaping Santiago. The Mapocho River acted as a physical limit to urban growth, while isolated hills served as a landmark, and I just said, the defensive points, and later as landscape features integrated into the city. This is the top of the hill, Santa Lucia's Hill. It's a very important point to see the city center and the relationship between the Cordillera de los Andes to the east and Cordillera de la Costa to the west. That are the two the important mountains of the city. Santiago followed the laws of the India, which established a regular grid organized around the central square. This model aimed to ensure order, control, and future expansion, and it continues to influence the city structure centuries later. Again, the Santa Lucia's Hill and the San Cristobal Mount. That is a mountain that is the other important part of the center of the city. From the 19th century onward, Santiago experienced profound transformation, driven by modernization and demographic growth. During the 19th century, the city expanded beyond its colonial core, incorporating new avenues, parks, and residential neighborhoods inspired by European urban models. Later, industrialization brought railways, railway station, and working class neighborhood. In this case, you can see in this plan, you can see the strings of iron. It's called this ring that enclose the center of the city, made by the railway station, the railway, and many stations all around the sector. This growth, however, also generated tension. From the mid-century, rapid metropolitan expansion integrated peripheral areas, producing a polycentric urban structure. From the 1940, Santiago expand its radio, occupying all the land, the central valley of Santiago, and now we have urbanization also these parts of the east at the foot of the hill. This growth, however, also generated tension with historic areas and heritage conservation. In this, this flyer, you can see the position between of the structure of the residential neighborhood, the replacement with big towers. Today, Santiago is a large metropolitan area composed of more than 30 municipalities, functionally interconnected through mobility, economic activity, and daily community patterns. The city structure is organized around major road networks, urban highways, and especially the metro system. In the terms of the highways, all these urban and metropolitan highways are concessioned, and you have to pay to use it, and it's a system quite expensive to move inside Santiago. These systems are essential for metropolitan connectivity, but also influence pattern of inequality and access to services, like you can see in this map. This is the map of segregation in Santiago in darker color at the right hand of the image, and at the foot of the mountains. You can see the neighborhood with the greatest socioeconomic resources. That is also the part with the water, with cleaner water, because the river, Mapocho River, flows in this sense, and the sector of the city with the cleaner water is the east part. In terms of urban heritage is a key dimension of Santiago identity and includes much more than individual moments. Since like 27 years in Chile, we have the Heritage Day, and in the last session of um, this important activity participate more than 3 million people to open museums and monuments, and as you can see, also you have activity in neighborhoods, heritage neighborhoods with foods and so on. The la Urban heritage includes both tangible and intangible elements with historical, architectural, social, and cultural value. Importantly, heritage is expressed through coherent urban ensembles that integrate buildings, public space, and everyday life. Santiago Historic Center contains also, like in this case, you can see, sorry, I pass a slide. In the slide, you can see we have a very strong in last years. We had in Santiago and in Chile a very strong discussion about a new law for protecting heritage, because the actual law that we have is like it was promulgated in 1970, and it's quite unuseful to manage properly heritage, urban heritage and architectural heritage. And in many cases, when some part of the city are declared and protected, the owners burn it to take off the protection, and in that case they can transform and build and speculate with heritage and the property. The Santiago Historic Center contains colonial and Republican architecture, as well as later style influenced by Republican trends and early modernism. Neoclassical and eclectic style reflect the state building processes in 19th century, while Art Deco and modernist building emerged in the early 20s. Preserving this architectural diversity is a major challenge. Preserving this architectural diversity is a major challenge today. In this case, you can see the building that contain today the Ministry of Art, Culture, and Heritage. That is an ancient palace that it was transformed with this and restored and with this new project made by Cecilia Puga and other architects. The beyond individual buildings, entire neighborhood are recognized for their heritage value due to the urban fabric, social life, and collective memory. Like in this case, Unidad Vecinal Portales, one of the most emblematic neighborhood unit built in Santiago in the 50s. Many historic neighborhoods have undergone cultural revitalization and tourism development. However, these processes also raise concerns about gentrification and social displacement. Another important case study in Santiago is this neighborhood unit that was very interesting in architectural and urban terms. And as you can see here, in this, one of the spots of they propose that in this neighborhood you can live as in Europe. The public spaces and or in another case, the declaration of an heritage neighborhood of another modern neighborhood unit here in Santiago. The transformation, the challenging between transformation and conservation in terms of the neighborhood has moved the people that live in this heritage neighborhood and to have this, this march, general protest movement and marches to protect the heritage of the neighborhood, like we have in 2019, promoting that heritage is a right. In terms of public space and landscape, Santiago has this. I present only this. Maybe one of the most important project, Mapocho 42K, is a 42-kilometer urban park that crosses all Santiago and recovers interstitial and deteriorated urban spaces. It's a project made by a colleague, my colleague here in Catholic University, and as the role to connect a different part of the city and move from the east part that is the richest sector of the city to the west part that is the poorest. Another very important urban and landscape element is Cerro San Cristobal and Cerro Santa Lucia. Like this is the Cerro Santa Lucia, and this is Cerro San Cristobal. The dimension of Cerro San Cristobal is more than Central Park in New York, and it's in the core, in the heart of the city. You can see here, for example, the density and the structure of the city in the west part and in the east part, sorry, and in the west part, low density and high density, high rise and low rise. And of course, Santiago faces multiple challenges in protecting its urban heritage with a context of rapid urban change, especially in the in this photo. You have the urban uh, the green areas of one of the poorest neighborhood in the west part of the city, and you can see the difference between the images that I showed you before. Well, the challenges for this tension between development and conservation, we have a challenge of urban heritage. Santiago faces real estate pressure and densification that threaten historic and neighborhood buildings, deterioration and inspection. The heritage suffers deterioration, damage from earthquakes or fire, and limited supervision of heritage regulation because of the law and integrated planning. We need to urban planning that integrates heritage as a strategic asset, not as an obstacle, is essential. And education and participation, heritage education and community education are key to protecting heritage effectively. And with the conclusion, urban historical evolution, Santiago reflects more than 4 centuries of history with its urban structure from the colonial checkerboard to the modern city. Identity and heritage, urban and architectural heritage strengthen the identity and sense of belonging of the inhabitants of Santiago. Challenges and conservation, urban growth, inequality, and real estate pressure require integration into urban planning, and at the end, inclusive and balanced future, promote the social use of the heritage and the value neighborhoods and public space for a balanced and inclusive city. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Humberto. Great. Now your presentation. Continuing with these presentations, I think we are at the end of the program, And I don't know if there are some reactions about all the activities we present. So, Mike, I don't know if you have some comment.
Yeah. Yes, thank you.
Sorry, Mike, I have to leave because I have to go to a meeting in my classes also. So thank you so much for the space here to talk about a little bit of our conference. I haven't talked about Rio. I can do it in another time, another meeting. But congratulations, Humberto, for your very nice presentation. Also, Ramon and also Miguel. And I hope to meet you soon in another meeting. Bye bye. Thank you so much, Mike.
So thank you, Ramon, and thank you all of you for really such a rich presentations and actually giving some new thoughts. And I think that one of the things about Heritopolis in Latin America, and perhaps we speak about the global south, is that it really represents, therefore, of a new metropolis evolving every 2 weeks over the next 15 years, which I quote from the UN statistics or UN Habitat statistics. Essentially, it is the global south which is actually developing. It's Africa and Latin America. So the figures which Ramon gave us of the metropolises are really quite something very important. I would like to sort of see some. I've got some takeaways myself. I put some of them comments in the chat. So my first one is in fact to the looking at authorized heritage discourse of Laura Jane Smith about that we actually move away from narratives, and I was very pleased that Vera strengthened the issue of the favela and the communities as part and parcel of the heritage. Heritage is everywhere. It's not just in conservation areas. So, which is the first part, and also that what is very special about the Global South, and which the takeaway which I have from Heritopolis, Latin America, is the importance of intangible heritage. I think that was given by both the music, which Luis spoke about, Guadalajara, and also the art functions which took place. This is really critical, and I know that if we're looking at historic urban landscapes and about mapping, this is really important. I've now taken on board the importance of mapping of chronology, okay, not choreography, chorology, which is in fact the mapping of place. And that sort of, it's a 16th century revival now, of which the mapping, therefore, you can take stories and map them. And I think that the map, Umberto, which you gave of that center of the people, it's not a survey map of a surveyor or engineer, it's a people's map. And similar in the actual checkerboard which you actually put, it was an amazing maps. Now these maps are more than, they're not just mental maps, they actually integrate then stories and poetry. And when in fact the original ideas of the 16th century, this took place in Britain, they actually created these maps in a very, very unique way. And I think we've got a lot to learn in integrating. How do we integrate into? We all speak about integrating tangible, intangible, but we also have to, in the same way of taking on the favela, we have to take on what is called independent cultures. Independent cultures is art and urban activities, urban cultural activities, which take place outside the formal structures. It's artists going into meanwhile spaces and actually them regenerating parts. And this has taken place very much in Latin America, taken place very much in Buenos Aires. And I think that this idea of independent culture, which is again, to my mind, part and parcel of another approach, is really very critical, and I think comes as two of the critical lessons from Latin America. My last takeaway is really the importance of the metropolis as challenges and opportunities. And I think that looking at Guadalajara, that's 9 municipalities, and looking at Santiago, which I think was 13, I can't remember the numbers, okay, but it was a multiplicity. And I really believe this concept of multiplicity, which was Bergson and Deleuze, but multiplicities, in other words, the city as a multiplicity of activities, is really important, because that's where we can create then the identities, or the unique identities of the within the metropolis, providing then this spatial sustainability. And I think this is exactly where the new urban agenda is, and in fact where we in Heritopolis are providing then a new approach when everybody's going to be living in a metropolis. And nowhere better than Latin America to understand this, rather than this Eurocentric idea. And I hope then in 2 months' time we shall have a similar presentation from Africa to actually say, okay, we have to sort of like turn our minds around, or stand on our heads, or something like that. Anyway, these are my takeaways. So thank you so much. It really sort of blows our minds and gets us to really think away of different plants. And I'm so pleased to see Brian Dube here and so many other friends. It's really great.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, and thank you for all my colleagues from Latin America. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike, maybe a reaction to your reaction is that one of the most important challenges, I think, related with mapping is the difficulty to map intangible heritage. Because it's very difficult to map a practice. It's very difficult to map a celebration. It's very difficult to map, the music or a specific food, or a cuisine. It's intangible heritage. Mapping intangible heritage, I think that is one of the most challenges that we have as working on this field, I think.
I just put of course, the Wikipedia connection to it, but if you're interested, I do have a presentation for students which I use on chronology. And but if you ever look at it, as I said, it was 16th century, and they did try to bring this spirit of place within this idea of the 16th century. I think one other point which Umberto, let me react to the reaction, is that you had presented it so much of the problem about heritage versus development and the conflict. And what we have to do, in my mind, is to really change people's mindset. That there is what we're doing is culture as an enabler for sustainable development. So what we're saying is that you're right. There's a problem between heritage and piggish development, but sustainable development and heritage goes together, and this is what we have to be able to create. And it is usually the contractors and the people who want to make a lot of money who create this dichotomy between culture and development. And if we then look at 11.4 of the SDGs, what we're really saying is that culture is, or protection is not just simply to protect culture, but it is to make cities safe and inclusive. In other words, when we generate identity and culture into these neighborhoods, we create safe and inclusive neighborhoods. And this is value. And I think this is again such an important message that we have to do. We're all spending our time having to actually change people's mind on this, but we have to believe that we're going to win.
I completely agree. For that reason, we propose this the topic of the seminar that we organized in Rio. It was focused specifically is the heritage as a positive, a positive key factor for transformation, and not only beyond conflict. But it's a fact that in our reality, the contraposition of position, not for us as an expert or that we work in the field, but for other people, there exists this contraposition between conservation and transformation, no? And it's another challenge to fight against this polarity. I agree with you completely.